we've been doing time after time. It says we're live now. It said we were live. So now
Yes.
it's saying we're live. Well, go imagine. I'm glad to know I'm alive. How about you?
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Uh,
Beats the alternative.
this is ridiculous. I love it. I love that we're getting to show people in live form that we're flowing. Andrea, are we truly live? Can you please check it? WhatsApp me, please.
Yes, we're live.
Okay, well, isn't that great? Okay, we're streaming, restreaming, and then streaming. So there you go.
It's all good.
You know, it's what I've said for many years as a speaking coach that the whole thing is about how you handle the unexpected. I mean, so to make a mistake or the microphone not working or saying a word wrong, not that I've set out to do those things intentionally, but to me, they're some of the best moments because they show people that you really do just use the principles and your tools. So here we go. We're all warmed up now for sure. And if we weren't awake, we're live awake now here coming from California and New Jersey. You got Simple Hayes here. Welcome to the Fire on Fire for Life podcast. And we're so blessed to have T Love with us today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly appreciate it. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
I'm so glad you're here, and I've heard about you and people raving about you, and I wanted other people in many different areas to have the opportunity to connect and tune in with you. And I do want to say that we love feedback and comments, and because we're live, we can actually see questions that you have, and we encourage you to get involved with us because it makes us feel needed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So T Love, I love your name, first of all. And like me, my name tends to be a conversation before I get to talk about anything else. So T being your first name and Love being your last name. How is there a story there or
This is my story. My parents couldn't afford vowels. They were freakishly expensive, and they still are. So
I love that. That's great.
and then I married the love part, and that was, that was kind of cool. And it was interesting though, because I didn't think anything of it until I started walking down the aisle, and I thought, there's more to this than a name change. I'm feeling like there's something here that I need to live up to this name, and it's a lot.
A
But I went
lot.
through it.
That's a lot. I mean, I bet you did have that awareness, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be T Love the rest of my life. And,
Yeah, yeah,
what would I be without love? It calls forth really that deeper commitment of relationship, that's for sure.
yeah. And how you treat others, it teaches you a lot. I mean, in the moments you're walking down this rather short aisle, you're thinking, what am I getting into? More so than what I thought I was getting into. And, it's worked out.
Apparently. Well, my name is my grandfather's middle name, and his name was John Temple. So, I've enjoyed it, and then being hanging out and playing in spiritual communities a lot in my life. Then people would go, "Did you change your name?" I'm like, "Goodness, no." But I think my name represents taking care of my body more than it does the building, because I had to learn that the hard way. 15 years of dedication to seeing if I could overcome drinking and driving. But anyway, we're here today to talk about you, and you've contributed. I mean, your bio would take 10 minutes of the show to read. And I mean that with grace and I mean that with value. How did you start on this energy of vibrational energy, realizing that energy is what your life is? And tell us about how you got started.
It was funny. I had a friend who was going to school to be a surgeon. And we went for coffee one day, and she said, have you ever heard of Reiki? And I said, no, it's Reiki. And she explained it to me that it's hands-on healing type of work. and it's energy work. And she said, you know, of all the people I know, you would research this to death. I think you should look into it. I think you'd be good at it. And I said, okay, so you're telling me. And she said, no, it's more than that. And I said, okay, twitching the nose, what is it? And she goes, no, no. And she gave me a couple of names of people to talk to. So I went and I talked to a couple of people. And I decided the only way I'd find out if this was accurate or not is to take a class. Now, what class can I take? I didn't want to take just a Reiki class. I wanted to take a science-based class. So I started going into quantum physics. And I thought, okay, this is
really jumped in.
Well, yeah, you know, I wanted to know, is it real or not? And I fell in love. And then I started doing Reiki, and then it started to evolve. And Dr. Eric Pearl wrote a book called Reconnective Healing. And I read his book and I thought, this is interesting. My Reiki is changing. And so I went to his class, I took it, I came back, and the very first day I started working on people after I took the class, every person that came in after that was, did you do something different? What's going on? This is different. It feels different. It feels stronger. It feels very different. And it was. And with that, I brought in quartz crystal singing bowls. So the sound therapy got involved with that as well. And that's just beautiful because the vibrations of the bowls bring you into harmony so that you can heal. And so it ended up just being a simple conversation of somebody daring me to research something to death and see if it was something that I would find interesting, and I did. So here I am.
I think that's important also for, you know, practitioners, because it's so easy to get locked in a box, right? But new things are always coming our way and knocking on our door to continue to expand us. I've said this before on the show, a couple of years back, that there's a shaman, trained shaman, learned shaman, Deborah King, that lives here in Ojai. And we would book her every year in Florida, or every other year we did for a while. And I remember she would come in and she would go, I was so excited to see all of you because I've been healing a lot of things within myself. And I know that now I can take you to a new level. And that's just so powerful, you know, a being not, I mean, obviously you and I know it's not egotistical. The practitioner must heal thyself. The person must be open to the healing, of course, but she had new tools and new doors and new ways to get in. And that's really, really great. Well, what would you say is some of your most rewarding work in working with clients?
It's seeing the results, you know, the positive results that come from it, and just being amazed. I love to constantly be amazed because I know that I am not healing anyone. I'm not a healer. That's not what I do. I don't believe anybody is. I think we heal ourselves.
Exactly.
And I can administer energy therapy and I can play the bowls. And I do want to say, there are people who've said to me, oh, I can play a bowl. You know what? Anybody can pick up a bowl and play it, but you need to know how to play it, and you need to pay attention to the guidance that you're getting. I've had people come in who have been to a yoga class and now they have vertigo because somebody was playing tuning forks wrong or didn't know what they were doing too close to them. And it can, you know, as much as it can be helpful, it can be harmful too. So you have to know what you're doing. But I think being amazed by the things I hear when somebody calls me, you know, 3 hours after coming in saying, I can feel my fingers, I couldn't feel them before. And then I get a call every 2 weeks and I have to say, it's okay, you don't have to keep calling me. Or one woman came in, she had shingles, and 4 days later, her doctor called her and asked her how she was doing. And she said, oh, I'm doing great. And he said, oh, good, the pills are working. She said, I didn't take your pills. I went and saw T Love. And he said, oh, you went and saw T? And she said, yeah. And she didn't have shingles. And that was back in 2016. And she hasn't had them since. So there's been a lot of what I look at as miracles that they performed for themselves because their energy took in this energy and knew what to do with it to heal the body.
Absolutely.
So they've done their own little miracles with themselves because we heal ourselves.
Of course. And, you know, people that say they have your answer and people that say, oh, that they can take care of you. That's, you hit on one of my hot buttons right there, because I've had the pleasure in my life to know one of the main shamanic practitioners, and that's Sandra Ingerman. And she wrote the book Soul Retrieval and doing energy healing and, those kind of things. And Donna Eden is another, medicine energy healer. But the hot button for me is somebody that takes a weekend retreat and then goes and gets a business card.
Yes.
And are there born leader people that can articulate information and stuff like that? I'm sure there's children that can do the art of storytelling or prayer better than a lot of adults because their pathway is not inhibited by past experience, too much knowledge, what's going on the notifications on their phone. So yeah, I can see there's certain levels of that. But like when people start putting together ayahuasca parties and start doing soul retrieval on people, to me it's almost scary
It is.
because you open up. It's not so much the I feel better, or a lot of it is placebo in some cases because you and I know it has to take time to integrate. Um, and that's why a lot of people will go to a trained, extremely professional practitioner and only go one time. That it's not, this is not a one, this isn't a quick fix thing. I mean, yeah, they might feel some, I have more energy or I feel younger. But really, it's about, not cheating ourselves of doing the inner work, right?
Right.
But people that are out there now that are, just promoting that they're a shaman when that's not even the right language that they're supposed to use.
Yeah.
It's discerning. I don't think it helps the cause. So I'm glad to hear. It's nothing I've talked about before, but obviously I have a strong opinion of it because it may be okay if you're telling someone how not to sweat small stuff and you go, oh, I was so impressive. I gave them some tools and techniques and we did oming and we did a labyrinth and we did a chakra cleanse. That might be one thing. But what if on the way home they have a memory of something?
Right. Right.
That's what me and Miss T are talking about today. Is that's when you better know what you're doing because you've opened up a path and it's big. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can put somebody on the deep end.
Yeah. Big time.
Anyway.
I asked a senator in our state, I said, I think we need to be regulated. And he goes, you want to regulate your work? And I said, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He said, why? I said, because I think it needs to be done. I think that people just go on YouTube and believe anything they see because everything on the internet is true.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so they pick the things that are easiest and then they go out and do it. I've had people say to me, will you train me? And I've said, well, what do you want to do? And the minute they say, and they all have said this, I want to heal people, I've said no.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. No. Yeah.
No. Go back to this. I don't want my name on a certificate and you going out there saying I'm a healer. You're not a healer. Nobody's a healer. We heal ourselves.
That's
And
right.
yeah.
Well, I love that. Well, I observed that your address is Hidden Valley, where you have your office and where clients come to see you in person. Hidden Valley, and I thought you can't make this stuff up because when I first launched out in my I wanted to be a minister or a speaker of truth. I don't know, the word minister was there for me, but as a woman back then, to find doors would be a new thought. It would be in Science of Mind or Unity, right? But I remember being so arrogant, as a 30-year-old, and you just change your thinking and change your life and change your thinking. But being a student as much as a teacher, I was realizing that I met a lot of people who've been practicing this supposedly for 30 years, and their life hadn't changed that much, and in ways of my own. And that's when I'm so grateful that I was introduced to chakra healing, energy alignment, energy medicine, um, a deeper level, not just surface chatting of. So I changed mine to change your energy and your life will change. And I'm so grateful, for that, to have those tools like you and your encounter that you had.
Yeah.
Because it expanded both of us in the work that we do in the world for sure.
There's always more to learn. There's always more perspective to shift and look at and just be aware. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that part, where you can you take what you need from each person and leave the rest, because in every interaction we're the student and the teacher, right? No matter what's
All
going
the time.
on, the student and the teacher. So
Yeah.
there's something to learn and there's something to give. Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of energy.
Yeah, I do. I'm told that often. You have too much.
And that's always encouraging. Well, I'm told that too, and just be grateful, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because you work at it and make choices, and so how do you feel about love that we are live, and for our audience to know we don't sit around and script what we're going to talk about. This is all downloaded in the right time with the people tuning in at the right time, and it fascinates me how people focus on spirituality or whatever, and they don't give the attentiveness to the body. How do you feel as far as what we eat, the types of things that we eat? Do you work with that capacity in any way
No, I
with
eat
your clients?
I eat whatever I want.
Well, you're one of those. Well, we don't like you, so thank you for being on our show.
People always think I'm a vegetarian. I was in a restaurant once.
I thought you were a vegetarian.
Yeah, with a group of people.
You look like a vegetarian.
What does a vegetarian look like?
I don't know, but you look like one to me.
Oh my goodness. But they went around the table and there was a choice of chicken and fish and beef and eggplant parmesan. And they started to my left and went around the table to 20 people. And she said, "Did you want the chicken or the fish?" And I said, "Oh, you ordered the eggplant parmesan?" And she said, "No, do you want that?" And I said, "Yes, please." And she said, "I thought you were a vegetarian." And everybody said, "Yeah, we thought she was a vegetarian. You're a vegetarian, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. But I do want the eggplant parmesan."
That is
they just
too
didn't think I knew
funny. That is so funny.
that.
I just,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you look like a vegetarian.
I do eat a lot more vegetables than I do beef. I don't eat a lot of beef at all. I eat chicken and fish mostly, and tons of vegetables. But I work out a lot. I go out in nature. I try to ground myself a lot, because I find that helps me to not have anxiety. Because let's face it, let's look at the world. Everybody's got anxiety. Anybody who says they don't, I want to meet that person. I want to meet that person who says I have no anxiety. And there's stress. So you got to get rid of it somehow, because you don't want to pass it along to anybody else, and you want to make sure you can stay focused when you're working on people. At least I do. Exactly. So I try to do things that bring me comfort and I know make me feel good. And beef just makes me feel.
Oh, it's heavy. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
I want to take a quick pause to say, Carl, thank you for tuning in. And also, I feel so blessed today. I've got my beautiful goddaughter here tuning in from Florida. Her name is Miracle, of course, and Teresa. So thank you for tuning into the show. We're delighted to have you. And we have many other people tuning in on different channels, but those are the ones, the chat that I see. But Miracle says, "Good vibes, Mama Temple." So we will certainly we'll certainly take that. Yeah, I can't eat animal protein. I just stopped one day. I was working with this woman from Singapore, and she asked me to. She said, "In working with you for 6 months, would you be willing, to give up all animal protein?" And I said, "Well, yeah, for 6 months, yeah, I think I can do that." And I just never could go back. And I don't try to tell people, hey, you ought to or you need to. I think, like you're saying, it's, there's not one size fits all. That's where we kind of get into trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where people get into commercialization. They get into this one product, it's going to work for everybody. And it doesn't work that way. It's following your own intuition. And what is some of your greatest joy, T, from the work now? Do you also do Zoom classes and other things and Zoom with people all over the world, or is it in your office as a client?
It was in the office as a client, and then COVID hit, and I had to rethink how I was doing things. But I had
Right.
already started doing distance therapy work, and so I do that now. But I don't do it via Zoom, interestingly enough, because I find that when I'm doing that, people are watching, and instead of relaxing and being in the state that they should be in to receive the energy, they're watching to see what's she doing, how's she playing those balls. I mean, I did it a couple of times, said this isn't working. So now I'll just schedule time with the person and I'll say, I'll be working on you from this time to this time. And I do, and I call them afterward, regardless of where they are, and we talk. And I get to hear, what they were feeling during the session.
Mm.
And even if I'm playing the bowls, I can tell because energy is everywhere. Everything's energy, right? So you can tune into energy from anywhere you want. And I remember being in Milan one day, and there was a little boy in New York supposed to go into surgery, a friend of mine's nephew. And there I was in the morning seeing, the Sermon on the Mount and the Last Supper. And then we walk out. And that night, we're going to go to dinner. And I'm like, Stevie is calling me. I need to sit and do something. So for 15 minutes, I worked on this little boy, Stevie. And when I got home, I asked the woman, how did Stevie do in surgery? And she said, oh my God, 7 o'clock, it was horrible. No, 2 o'clock, it was horrible. He couldn't do anything. He was crying and screaming and they couldn't calm him down. And then all of a sudden at 2:15, he calmed down. 2:30, they took him in. I said, oh, that's good. The person I was with said it was a flight attendant, so it was a free flight for me. And she brought me on a companion pass. And she said, did you tell her there's a time difference? And I said, no, I didn't think of that. She goes, T, you're working on him at 7 o'clock. It was 2 o'clock in New York. And I said,
Oh my gosh.
so from 2:15 to 2:30, when I was working on him, is when he, it was 7:15 to 7:30. So I know it works, and they don't have to know, and they don't have to be present on a Zoom call or anything like that. I found it to be too distracting. So I do work with people just distantly, and then get in touch with them via either email or a telephone call, depending on the time.
No, good for you. Yeah, that makes so much sense too. Because we look at our hair and we get into what are we doing and are we smiling or are we? There's so much, physical. Or you look like a vegetarian. That can be very distracting.
And sometimes when I'm working on people, I'm pouring down sweat. And I don't even realize it. But I looked up once and I saw the person watching me. I said, why are you watching me? You're supposed to be like relaxing. And she said, oh, I wanted to see what you were doing. And I said, okay, well, when you're here, you don't do that. So I was testing it with people, and I found that they weren't getting as much out of it because they weren't relaxing the way that they needed to just let themselves go and let the energy just do its thing without setting up resistance,
Mm-hmm. Have you found that you have certain categories of specialty, or is it just as people come?
It's as people come. And what's interesting is sometimes when the doctors call me and they'll say, look, I really don't understand what you do, but can you help my patient? I'll say, I don't know. We'll see. And then they'll ask what the protocol is. And I love that question because there's no protocol. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't met the person yet. Everybody receives energy differently every day. Whatever presents itself to us, we react to in whatever way we react.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody came in with the exact same issue at 10 o'clock that the 11 o'clock had, I have no idea. I'm not going to play the bowls the same way. The energy is not going to flow the same way because they're two totally different people. So there is no protocol to it. But anything that anybody has that can come in with, even if it's just people who come in once a month because, well, they call it the tea fix. I need the tea fix. And they come in just to get that relaxation, like a massage. And many people have said, this is like getting a massage, but you don't even lay a finger on me. You don't touch me. I'm like, that's right. I don't. Yeah. So I think it's just whatever issue they have. And I've had people say, I came in with lymphoma and I went to my PT and they said I didn't have to go back for my shoulder. And when I told the gentleman I came here he told me, oh yeah, okay, I know that stuff works. You can come back next week, will be your last session as far as PT is concerned. Why didn't you heal my lymphoma? And I have to tell them, because the energy knows where to go and what to work on. I can't program the energy. I can send energy to you. And that's why sometimes it takes a little bit longer for something to go away or to heal itself. And I will say this too. Many people think that, okay, if somebody, why didn't it work for this person, but it worked for that person? I don't know. Why does chemo work for one person or radiation and not another? I don't know the person's journey. So it's all about the journey they have and how it's helping them, but it is healing them regardless. They're healing through something in their body, whether it's to stay here or they're going to have to go through a journey to leave.
Yeah.
One way or the other. We don't know what healing means to each person. And that's the hard part to try to explain to people who don't understand it. They think, well, if you're going to somebody who they construe as a healer, they think healing means staying here. And that's not always the case. I do an awful lot of pediatric hospice work and even adult hospice work. And people think I'm there to bring the person back. That's not going to happen. It's just to ease everything. So I think that, it runs the gamut from I'm a little stressed all the way to hospice.
Yeah. And, in your work and in mine, we know it takes a lot of energy to die.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of students through the years have asked me, well, when you go to see someone at the hospital or, you're there at hospice, what do you, if they ask you to pray, what do you pray for? And I go, I pray for life.
Yeah.
I always pray for life. I always pray for energy because it takes a lot to cross over.
Yeah. Whatever the highest healing good is for this person, let's make it an easy whatever transition.
Exactly.
Or whichever way it's going to go.
Exactly. So you work with all age groups and you've been doing this how long?
Probably about 20 years.
Yeah. It found you, huh?
Yeah, I did, because I was resistant at first. I thought, this doesn't work. And then I learned it did. So that was fascinating. And I was very fascinated by that. And I love to learn. So I continue to, go down that road to see what's going on that's new in the field of energy and, what are we discovering?
Oh yeah. I love all the evolution of things. One of my oldest dog has surprisingly has congestive heart failure with no predetermined symptoms or no heart murmur or anything. He just went into that, and it was so well. That wasn't cool, but the next sentence was, and what was so cool was that a friend put together a color therapy lamp and brought it over, delivered it here with the book about color therapy. And every night I put him under this light, magenta, and he's just been on it, an hour an evening. And I must say, we both noticed a difference. I mean, he talks in a way that I understand, but it's been really cool, and I thought, the second thought was, thank you, Mystic, because of what you're experiencing, I'm learning about new things. I mean, I certainly know the power of color and chakras and running energy. I know, if you have a lot of arthritis or red energy, it's good to run blue because you create purple and that sustains healing. I mean, I'm aware of many different levels of that, but that was really cool to have this lamp. Girl, I had that thing running all over me. I'll take it right here. I'll take it over there. Let me move over. I mean,
and just shine it on you all day.
I was very loving though. I did the dog first, but then I was like, well, what about me with this power light? I'll take it. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Why not?
For sure. But I love the sound healing bowls and is it safe to say that just about every client that comes to you, you do the healing bowls?
Absolutely.
Is that all and always?
always.
Is that like a beginning always to create this space, or it's just every person that you not necessarily?
Every person, unless they say they don't want it,
Okay.
and or unless I'm guided not to, because let's face it, you can't choreograph this, So I
Yeah.
work on the person energetically to get a feel for where am I going to be going with the bowls.
Hmm.
And then I start playing the bowls. And I always start with the heart chakra bowl. Let's start with that. It's immune system, right? So I start with that. I play that bowl, and then I'm led to where I need to go. And I always, when I decide that I know better than spirit, which I don't, but I decide I do. And I think, no, I'm going to go play this bowl now. I will either trip, the bowl won't play well, and I will instantly hear, you're not paying attention to what we're telling you to do. And I'm like, okay, I need to get my guidance and really be aware so that I'm not just deciding, oh, we haven't played that one in a while, let's go play that bowl. That's not how it works. So that's why it's not choreographed. It's very different for every person. But I first work on them for about 20, 25 minutes, and then I play the bowls for another 15 to 20 minutes. And then I go back and ground them, and then we talk and see, okay, how do you feel? What were you feeling? And what's happening within. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen in 20 years, you have seen people heal from cancer.
Yeah.
What about addiction?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen all kinds of stuff that people will say, I came to you a couple of times and I didn't want to drink anymore. I didn't want to do drugs anymore. I didn't,
Wow.
whatever it was. And they're thanking me. And I'm saying, but you did the work. See, you did the work.
Yeah.
This was the energy setting you up to do the work and shift yourself so that you could, because it takes courage to do that. It takes a lot to do it. It's hard work, but you did it. I didn't do it.
Right.
And I try explaining that to them, and that can be difficult. And I'll say, you're welcome. I'm glad to administer the energy.
Good.
But they need to know that they do the work.
Yeah. I'm glad that you received the space of that, though,
Yes.
because I used to not. I do a very flippant, kind of, well, it's you and the divine. I didn't really, but somebody told me one time that sometimes people don't feel either capable, worthy enough, able, whatever the word is, or words, to access fully the divine. So on the way home, they don't feel like they can say, thank you, Holy Divine Spirit, for this gift. So you're a human body, so they tell you.
Yes.
And so I'm totally with you on both ends. So I learned that. I went, oh, I see your point. Because I don't need to get off on myself or, do that. I'm not into that, and I've learned to say, like you said, well, thank you. And I want to emphasize that you created the space to allow and to do the work. And it's a beautiful thing. Well, that is where we're being drawn now these days. I mean, there's so much energy and opportunity for us to address this thing called addiction, because it is deep and wide and heavy, and no one's spared. um
Yeah.
you can be a celebrity, you can be homeless, you can be a billionaire, and that hole, that addiction hole, can grab you.
Yeah.
It really can. So it's good to know that you do that. T, how does someone access you, find out about you? I know you have the information, and I've read your work, but how does tell them on the air how to find you?
They can go to quantumwellnesscenter.org and read the website, and through there they can send an email, ask questions, whatever it is that they need to do. That's the easiest way.
Okay, quantumwellnesscenter.org. Okay, great. And everybody, I'm talking to T Love. What a name. Bam. Every day I'm gonna have to check in with that. Where's my love vibe? How many people are gonna think I'm a vegetarian?
I know. I'll be thinking of that a lot. How many people? More people than I thought. I'm on a camera yet. You can't even see me that well.
That is just And it's just so funny. It's so funny. But like you, I've seen energy, do so many things. A friend of mine is tuning in, kind of a adopted sister, and um, her story I think will touch your soul, and I have permission to share it, and I'm not name calling, but I've told it publicly a few times how she had an injury or two, and she was on medication, 10 medications actually, just to sustain, just to get through the day,
Yeah.
just to deal with, coping and opiates and I mean strong stuff with the devil, that little X thing, the scary kind. Like,
Mm.
do not touch, do not leave available for others, but you take it.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, she just really started absorbing different ways of thinking, different ways of living life, different ways, and decided she no longer wanted to do that because the blood pressure was off the chart.
Mm.
And when you would look up her blood pressure number, it would say, almost close your computer, go immediately to the emergency room.
Yeah.
So that's the level things were. And so, anyway, she made a real defining moment to change that. And she was at a level that she would overlap her medication. So she couldn't feel the pain.
Yep.
She detoxed and has never taken anything since.
Thank God. Good for her.
Isn't that
You know,
amazing?
it's in those defining moments, right? We
Defining
do
moment.
We absolutely do that. And sometimes the energy just brings you to that point because I remember a doctor telling me once, here, take these pills. I forget for what it was for. And I came home and I read it and I thought, okay, this has more side effects than whatever it was I had. It was an antibiotic. And I took it and threw it against the wall. I said, I'm not
Yeah.
taking this. That's
Yeah.
it. I'm done. And then I realized after it broke open, I had to pick up all the pills because I had cats. And I'm like, oh no, pick it up and get it all before the cats eat it because they'll do that. And I
Right.
called and I said, I'm not doing this. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be something else, I'm just going to go with it. And I did. I got over whatever the flu or whatever it was that I had going on, but I just couldn't see all of the side effects. And it was a defining moment. I let it go. And when
Mhm.
you hand it over and let it go, when people come in, it's kind of like they're handing me something and saying, here, you take care of it. And when they do that, it is kind of a placebo effect to them. They've made a decision and they've told their brain, right, the
Yeah.
super organic computer, to go out and Google the solution before we had Google. And it goes out and gets that solution and comes back and runs it through the body. So it's running this program in your background all day long and you're healing. That's kind of how I look at it, to bring it into
Mhm.
these, technical terms. So people
Absolutely.
understand it.
It makes perfect sense to me for sure. And it's just so I don't know what the word is, but how many people are just so quick to just put something in their body and they don't do any research. They
Right.
don't, you know, I read somewhere and I haven't said it in a long time, so I might botch it, but it's like, you may not trust the person you live with all the time, but you'll go to somebody else with a lab coat and they write a prescription and you can't read it. And then you take it somewhere and you don't know what they're putting in it, but you'll just put it in your body and be good to go. It fascinates, I think, the medical industry when they ask what am I taking, and I go nothing, absolutely nothing. Don't take anything,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Big
but
Pharma wants you to.
totally, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it's just like you're saying, we keep creating these defining moments.
Yeah. We do that. And it informs your body or your brain what to do, telling your body. And once your brain and your heart are in sync and they're agreeing without any, well, I don't think this is a good idea. Well, I think it's a good idea. Who's going to ride over who? Once you get that heart coherence thing going, you're going to shift and
Hmm.
things will happen. The magic happens. It does happen. And it is magical. I find it magical. I find it amazing. I don't ever want to lose that. I think once you lose that, you think you're the one doing it. And I tell people all the time, I am just a piece of PVC piping that's standing in the room with you, and I'm good PVC piping. I'm a good clear conduit. You know,
I'm
that's
nice
all
and
it is.
thick, and you can count on me.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, but that's all I am. I'm running the energy. That's all that I'm doing is running the energy, and you're taking care of it. And, you know, I feel like sometimes they do, you can almost feel them handing over their issue to you. And when I feel that, I know they're going to be okay. I can also tell when somebody's not going to be okay, and that's not fun. You know, it's
Yeah.
like this person isn't going to make it. You know, that's hard because you know it's just they're shut down.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like in shamanic work, energy work, I'm not able to work with anybody that is on heavy drugs or is on chemo
Mm.
because I taste it. It
Uh,
actually will make me nauseous.
okay. Yep.
Yeah,
I've
but
never
that's
had
with
that.
more hands-on,
Yeah.
you know, where
Yep.
you're saying with the bowls and things like that, you're not really touching people, but I breathe it in. I take it. I don't intentionally take it on, but I just can't. I can't do that.
You know, when I do the hands-on work, it's not on them. I'm above them, and sometimes I'm way above them because the energy is so strong. I mean, I sometimes will be tingling and getting zapped.
Mm.
Like when you walk across a carpet and touch something,
Yeah,
sometimes my hands are just zapping. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. It's like, okay, stop. You know, I don't like this part. But I can feel the intensity and the strength and the weight of the energy. And
yeah,
if I put I started out touching people and I was like, I can't feel it. And I realized when I put my hand above them, I could feel it better. And
yeah.
I knew, you know, when that spot was like, okay, now you need to move on. This spot took in enough. Now move on and go down here. So I do everything hovering. I'm a hover. I'm a hovercraft.
Well, it sounds like you're reminding me of my friend Carl that he's tuning in today, and he does amazing work and gets cases from hospitals that they can't solve. And
Good for him.
um, you know, there's so much joy in what you're doing. And what I love in hearing you say this, being located in New Jersey, is that you are known and respected. And that's a beautiful thing, you
It
know,
is.
that the doctors will refer patients to you. And maybe we are evolving and learning that we don't have to own a territory, especially if a certain practice isn't being successful, you know?
It is cool, you know, and there are people who still that they're not in the medical profession, but they'll say, "Well, that's T Love. She does that woo woo stuff," and I'll just shake my head like, "Okay, yeah, it's not woo woo anymore." You know, we have hospitals here who have like 60, you know, energy therapists working as volunteers, helping people around the hospital. They go from room to room, you know, so and that's been going on for the past 10 years. So that's pretty cool too to know that
Mhm.
the hospitals are inviting them in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you, do you train practitioners with your work?
I did. I don't anymore. I
Hmm.
don't because most of the people want to be healers, and I just no, you know, figure it out. You
They
know, if
want to be
you
the
think you're going to
Tik-
be a healer, this is not your calling.
they want to be the TikTok healer.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's like it's not.
Yeah,
That's not what it is. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not. You know, no, just no.
yeah. Well, good for you. I love that you have your own grounded set of principles, and you know, you really live by them. I am, I have worked with a number of people through the years, but I take spaces from it because sometimes it's like this new era is like people want to have everything and be trained in 15 minutes, and then they're the expert. It's like, okay, welcome to the life school.
Exactly. Yeah. I
It's
mean, people will
it's
say, well, I saw it on YouTube, so I started doing it, and now I have a practice. And I was mortified once because I'm in an area where I was at a table with a bunch of people, and this woman was talking to another person, and she said, "Oh, I'm a board, no, I'm a sound therapist." And I looked at her and
oh,
I thought, "No, you're not."
sound therapist.
No, I thought, "You're not a sound therapist. I know that." So I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to embarrass her, but I went up to the person afterward and I said, "If you're bringing in a sound therapist, I'm going to ask you to check credentials because you work with Karen Ann Quinlan Hospice, and I know Julia, the mom, and she would be very upset if you brought somebody in who is somewhat of a charlatan. That person has never gone to school. So I'm going to suggest, you don't have to choose me. I don't even need to be in the running, but I'm going to suggest that you check people's credentials.
Yeah.
She said, I thought anybody could do it. I said, no, anybody can, but ought not to.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I mean, when you're working with the sensitivity of people's souls.
Yeah.
And their livelihood, their well-being, and wide range of conditions. I mean, experience is what teaches us so much.
And you want to be treated the way that you want to treat someone else, the way that you want to be treated. So would you like that?
Right. Exactly.
You know, the question comes up and people looking like, no.
You go to an expert and they go, excuse me, I'll be right back. I got to go look this up on YouTube. I'll be back with you in a minute.
Yeah, I got to check.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, I just I had mentioned your address earlier, but I love that you're on Hidden Valley, and I think that's the richness of what we're talking about, because you know, that's the part of consciousness within a body. It is like a hidden valley, because there are things that are running the DNA, the heredity, the belief systems, the culture, the societal, you know, all those things. Like you said earlier, I mean, if you are in a human suit, you have anxiety, you have stress. I mean, it is. And the more free, to me, the more free you are, and the more you practice, you know, being grounded, meditation, sound therapy, color therapy, now I'm all over that, or whatever, the more sensitive you are to all of those things. Right? I mean, and you feel more.
Yeah.
You know, and you get in touch with other people's feelings more, or with animals' feelings more. And I think that's a real not taught so well, in that people think, oh, I'm just going to, you know, keep practicing the enlightenment, and then, you know, and then I just stay in joy. It's like, no, you become more human. You definitely become more sensitive to being a human being and what that's like.
Yes. Yep. You absolutely do. And it's wonderful. It's
yeah, it is. It's a beautiful journey if you allow yourself the space of that.
Yes.
And you understand it. You know, and children exemplify being a human better than anybody.
We have so much to learn if we just
exactly. They just go from one wave of energy, you know, to the other. It's like a woman asked me one time, you know, I just can't get over, you have so much joy. How do you do it? How do you have so much joy? And I said, well, I needed to mature enough to realize that joy is not the absence of sadness and grief.
Right.
It's the inclusion of it. And children understand that.
Children are always in the present moment. They're not thinking about what am I making for dinner. They're not thinking about the bills. They're not thinking, they don't have those issues, but they're not also thinking, what am I going to do after I finish coloring? They're coloring. They're in that moment coloring. Then they're playing jump rope. Then they're on their computer or whatever it is they're doing. But they're not thinking about the next thing the way that adults are, you know, and it's unfortunate that we've all been taught to do that, to think ahead, keep thinking ahead instead of being in the moment. The more you're in the moment, the better off you are, the more aware you are of everything.
It's so true. And I want to remind everybody, you can tune in to quantumwellnesscenter.org.
Quantumwellness.org. She got it right. I've changed my website a couple of times. I'm sure she has it right.
Okay.
I don't even know my own website.
You can't get much on Andrea. She usually gets everything right.
Thank you, Andrea.
She's really got it going. We've been together.
I don't do my website and social media.
We've been together 10 years, or 11 now. Happy anniversary, darling. 11, as far as a business relationship. I don't want to get in trouble with my wife now. Oh, God. Anyway, so it's just been a pleasure talking with you. And
wonderful. Thank you so much.
I admire your work, and I love your sacred humility, and glad to have you join us again.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation immensely. Thank you. And thank you to your audience for tuning in. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I like your approach. It reminds me of myself because I believe we can do all this and still have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
gotta have some fun.
that's good energy.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. And remember, you can always go back and add comments. I do check them on different forms of social. We love hearing from you. And I want to thank you for continuing to support, on Fire for Life podcast. Really, really appreciate it.